Hey everybody, this is my first battle report using my new release. It's a rules adaptation of Brutality Skirmish war game called Brutal Epic. It's got two different scale modes. It's got a 6mm kaiju and mech and superhero mode, and then there's a 28mm ground superhero and cops and robbers mode as well. I'm not going to be getting into the minutia of the rules here, but I'm just going to show you how it plays and hopefully you enjoy it. These are our two warbands for this mission. We're playing the 6mm mode. And Rockwella, a villain that animates and controls rock, is attacking my town. That's my local defense force on the right there. And she has a the first monster from left to right is a double basic ranged. It's identical to the one all the way behind the warband. That's also double basic ranged. Then next we have a breacher and a basic melee. And then next is Rockwella. If you look, she's standing on top of one. And it's a breacher and basic melee and an icon, because she's on it. And then finally, we have a single module beast for objective capping. Our local defense force team, starting with closest to us on the bottom and going clockwise, is an ordnance and basic ranged. Then we have our superpowered Sea King. He's a local meta for us that controls water, so he's a mover, single module. Then we have the leader of the group. It's an older marshal. He is a blaster and a basic melee. Behind him is a newer marshal, which is a fighter and an executioner. And then finally we have a mobile support that's also a transport. You'll see the two little lesser units on the roof there. Those are soldiers, and they're going to be basic ranged lessers, and they will be riding in the transport. So let's get on with the game. Our team discovered a list of people that Rockwella wants vengeance against. So they are going to be in these buildings that are marked with the objectives there, there, and there. Even if the buildings are destroyed, the people are still going to be there. So our object is going to be to save people from these buildings, and their objective is to take people from these buildings. Meanwhile, we are still fighting. We are treating these as scavenging objectives, so if we roll a 1, it will not trigger a region effect. It will mean that all of the important people she's after are out of that building, and the objective will go away. We are picking riotous areas, so there are people in the streets rioting, and if we roll a 10, they're going to hamper our movement, etc. We won the roll-off, and Sea King, being a mover, moved the mech, the old marshal, 4 inches, and then he activated the objective. He freed some civilians and earned us a point. Then he actually hurt himself, putting a water barrier around the marshal in order to protect him. And finally, he raised a movement blocking barrier of water. Their next activation was to move their beast over to this building and steal some people from it, scoring them a point. It's 1-1. Our modern marshal moved and ran over here and then saved people from this building, scoring us a point. Their thrower over there threw giant boulders at him. He was able to save everything. Our transport flew over here, being a mobile support, and he sent out paramedics to heal Sea King. Then their ranged guy here stole some people out of that building, and then that was a free action, and then shot rocks all the way over at the mobile support. Luckily, the mobile support is flying and very agile. He was able to save everything. Oh, a lot has happened this turn. Our leader, the old marshal, has flight. He flew over here. He shot his blaster module at the ranged guy. The rock thrower only had a save of 1 with all the save modifiers, but critically saved it, so he took no damage. So then we decided to charge in with the melee module, and we were actually able to destroy one of the 2 modules out of the rock thrower and a damage to another one. So we did very good on that. The old marshal took 1 damage on its melee module. That was it. So we scored a victory point for that module being killed. Then over here, big guy over there ran from behind all the way up here, moved and charged into the modern marshal. And the modern marshal's a fighter, so you get to strike first, and he was able to do some damage. He was able to do 2 damage on the breacher module of this giant creature. He also gave it a bleeding, and he put that module in agony, so he will be missing an action next turn. Then this guy swung back. He dealt 2 damage to the Executioner and did a trauma, permanently disarming the Executioner, which, as you probably know, that really sucks for an Executioner module. I ended up having to stress right there that 3 dice there, I had to stress a couple of my attacks, and the Executioner completely whiffed. So they didn't kill any of our modules, but the Executioner's down to 1 hit point now. Our big tank moved from here over to here, taking a pot shot with his ordnance and his basic ranged into Rockwella. He missed both of them, took 2 stress trying to reroll them, and still missed them all. So Rockwella moves through this first building and destroys it. It did not explode. She tries to move through this second building right here, and it was too tough for her. So she tries to charge through this big building, and it was still too tough for her. So unfortunately, that building is stopping her from attacking our leader, the older Marshal. So in a last-ditch effort, she put down a line of sight blocking barrier, and that was her activation. That's the end of turn 2, and the good guys are winning 3-2. I forgot to mention that these 2 infantry lessers are still in the transport, but I'm choosing not to activate them. Alright, Rockwella had lost more modules than we had, so she started off with this thrower right here, threw rocks at our Executioner fighter, and luckily we were able to save everything. Then our leader, the blaster melee, he has flight and 10-inch movement, so he moved behind this rock guy and absolutely obliterated him, scoring 1 victory point. Then he charged into Rockwella. He unfortunately had to destroy a home there, but that's something we couldn't avoid. He charges into Rockwella's rear arc. Unfortunately, he did no damage to her whatsoever, and she did 1 unsaved damage to him with -2 willpower to his blaster module. Rockwella did not at all appreciate being assaulted by our leader here, so she moved out of the way, and she ran, and she healed the bleeding that was on this monster right here, and she put up a movement blocking barrier right there, and that was her activation. Our guy Sea King had quite an activation. He moved around this corner, and he used a free action to save people from this building, scoring us a point. The score is now 5-2. And then he's a mover, so he moved that monster over there 4 inches backwards, and then put a movement blocking barrier of water around him. Then put a bubble of protective water around this guy as well. So Sea King, even though he's 1 module and he's a tiny guy, he's putting in work. This was a rough set of activations for our guys. Despite being moved in the movement blocking barrier, this monster right here moved around and charged the side of our modern Marshal. After the battle, he was pushed into the building, which did not explode but was destroyed. The Executioner module on our guy was destroyed, and the fighter module is only down to 1 hit point left. And we did absolutely nothing to this giant monster. Then, the small local defense force guys got out of this transport and shot at him over there. He was previously right here next to the building. They shot at him and did 1 damage to him, which was actually quite helpful, and a disarmed. This guy over here then moved more out of sight and stole more people out of this building. So the score is currently 5-4 in our favor. Our support mobile moved over here. They sent out repair teams for the modern Marshal here, healing a hit point on the fighter. And then they also did Curse. They emitted some sort of noise that this rock creature hates, giving him -1 save. And then the modern Marshal activated because the Rockwella's done with activations. The modern Marshal moved and ran and passed his stress check over here, with limping away with only 2 hit points left out of 6. And then finally, big boy here, our tank, fired both of his ordnance shots and both of his regular shots, and he did have to re-roll, so this actually should be a 4 instead of a 2, but he was able to do 4 unsaved damage. I got 3 critical hits out of those 4 shots with re-rolls, and destroyed both modules of this monster. The monster did not blow up, so that scored us 2 more victory points. We are currently 7-4, so Rockwella's got to get on with it. I just rolled the stress check roll, and he failed his stress check, so his ordnance module took 1 damage, and now all of his stress is off. Rockwella moved up here and stole people out of that building, scoring them a victory point. She then put up a line of sight blocking barrier right here, and I think that was all she did, so the score was then 7-6. Our leader over here tried to save people out of this building and rolled a 1, so that was a critical fail and nothing happens. Come to find out there's nobody else she wants in that building. So that was no points for us. Then The shooty guy over here, he was back there. He moved and ran and used a command token to steal people out of this building, bringing the score 7-6, still in favor of the heroes. A lot happened this turn. The fighter, limping along with 2 hit points, ran into their rock creature over here and destroyed it before he could fight back. That was fun. We captured an objective right here with the mobile support. The mover, Sea King, came over here, and he put a movement blocking barrier of water over there. He protected himself with a barrier of water, or I shouldn't say barrier, a bubble of water around himself. And then he moved, the ordnance guy right here was over here. He moved him 6 inches with his mover ability. And then when he activated, he moved. He fired shots at the Rockwella. He only hit her once, and she saved it. He did, in fact, do a damage onto this guy back here because he's an ordnance. But that's all that happened. The score is currently 9-6 in favor of the good guys. Rockwella isn't messing around now, so she stole more people out of this building, and then she ran and charged into the big tank, and she destroyed its basic ranged module completely. She did a total of 3 unsaved damage. Then, when he backed up, she had pushed him into this building, and I rolled a 10 for it. So, everybody within 6 inches, the building exploded and dealt her an unsaved damage and him an unsaved damage, bringing his ordnance down to just 1 hit point now, and they both got a confusion token. From her tackle ability, when she tackled the tank, she already gave him a confusion. So he's double confused, and she's got a confusion. But this is her last activation, so it doesn't matter. She scored 1 point from killing this module, and 1 point from that. And that brought the score 8-9. Then Sea King came over here, saved some people out of the building, and then moved himself with his mover power. And then free action, command tokened a protect token over himself. And that's it. So it's 10-8. Well, this was a little surprising. I had put Sea King right here within 6 inches in line of sight of him so that this rock thrower guy could not take any more people out of that building and activate that objective. So the rock thrower targeted both of his basic ranged on Sea King. He got all 4 of his hits, and he got a critical hit. So, unfortunately, even with the Protect token, Sea King was KO'd. I would say slain, but this isn't Brutality, so they're probably KO'd instead. But Sea King got KO'd, giving them a victory point, and then the Rock Thrower was able to steal more people out of the building, giving them a victory point again. That brought the score 10-10, and our fighter over here was able to remove people from that building, bringing us 11-10. So, unless... Let's go ahead and roll this objective, and I will... Well, actually, we already won. We already won, but let's see if the support can activate this objective. He does. Okay, so 12-10, we have a decisive victory. We could try to... well, let's just see. Let's just see if... the Ordnance has a willpower of 5. He's got 2 confusions to make. He fails one of them, so he's going to be scattering, and he's not going to be activating. That guy over there is too far really away from everything else. We've already activated that, and that this turn, so the only one we could activate is that one, and he's not close enough to do that. So, we won 12-10 is what we won, and it's the good guys actually did have a lead the entire game, unfortunately. The Rockwella did a good job of trying to catch up at the end, but she just never did anything better than just tying it for a minute. So, oh well. Hopefully this illustrates exactly what is cool about Brutal Epic in the Epic scale. It's in 28mm and 6mm, so this is the 6mm scale. And when you destroy buildings, they can explode. When miniatures are destroyed, they can explode. And then you can make cool little characters like this Rockwella lady that controls all this rock. That's pretty cool. Or like, where's Sea King? My little... I don't know if I'll even focus on him. There you go. There's a little Sea King riding his wave. Anyway, so this is... I really love this. This has been very popular in my gaming group. I love all the little suburbs and things like that. And So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an impression of what it's like. This is not Brutality Skirmish War Game. This is Brutal Epic. This is a rules adaptation of Brutality Skirmish War Game, meaning that it's got basically 90% of the same rules. It's applied differently, such as the stress. You can do things like extra actions or rerolls with stress, but then the stress builds up and you can hurt yourself, like he did earlier. He hurt himself, and things like that. So hopefully you enjoyed this. It's a lot of fun to play, and I will, of course, you can get your copy at brutalityskirmishwargame.com. And go check us out on Facebook, because our group is very nice people. Anyway, see you later.